Have you recently purchased a Cricut machine, or maybe you've had one and you want to make your very own t-shirts at home, but you don't have a fancy Cricut Easy Press, or maybe you don't even have a big heat press. All you have is a home iron. Well, today is your lucky day. I'm going to show you guys from start to finish how you can make your very own t-shirts using your Cricut at home. Hi, I'm Crystal. Welcome to Design Bundle's YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell down below so you don't miss any of our crafting tutorials. First, let's go ahead and talk about the supplies you're going to need to accomplish making your own t-shirts at home. First things first, you're gonna need a t-shirt of some sort, whether it's an adult t-shirt, a youth t-shirt, maybe onesie, some sort of garment. You're definitely gonna need that. You can grab those locally at a lot of places, whether it is a clothing store or even somewhere like a craft store like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, or even Joann's. You're gonna need some HTV. I've got Siser HTV, and I like to buy it by the roll when it comes to the colors that I use the most. So for example, I use a lot of white and black, so I purchase those in the roll, and all of my colors I purchase individually in the 12x12 sheets. You can also get them in like the 12x24 and also cut those because you can save a little bit of cash when you purchase them in the 12x24. But Siser HTV is my favorite, but definitely feel free to use whatever brand you like. You're gonna need your die cutting machine. Of course, you can definitely use a Silhouette, a Brother, whatever die cutting machine that you have. But today I am using the Cricut Explorer 3. You're gonna need a home iron, and it doesn't matter the brand, honestly. You can go as cheap as you want to. What setting you're gonna wanna use is your cotton setting. You could definitely get like a little heat gun, but that's just gonna raise the price, and figure out your time and temperatures there just to see what setting is actually gonna work best for you. But when it comes to using a home iron, I just always go straight to that cotton setting, and then I don't have to worry about a thing. When it comes to the home iron, as you can see here, I am using the Oliso Pro. This is a very expensive iron, so I wouldn't recommend it personally for making t-shirts, but I do recommend it for making quilts and clothing and things like that. So I actually purchased this years ago. This was my splurge whenever it came to making my quilts and stuff because it helped my job a whole lot easier, just like if you were gonna purchase your Cricut Easy Press for using for your Cricut projects. So that's why I have one of these, so please don't think that you have to go out and buy the most expensive iron. I do love this guy, but it's the iron that I have here at my home. But you could definitely get away with your $10 iron that is at Walmart, honestly. So you just need a home iron. You're gonna need a bath towel. You definitely wanna use a bath towel because they're bigger for working with your t-shirts. And then you just wanna fold it to where there is no lines or creases that's gonna get in the way of pressing. A couple more things, you're gonna want a ruler of some sort. I like to use a sewing ruler, and you can usually grab those for around $1 in your sewing section. You may even already have one of these around the house, but feel free to use whatever ruler you would like. When I first started making t-shirts, I actually even used that, it was a quarter. You know, back when it's back to school time, those wooden rulers that are 25 cents, I used that guy forever when it came to making t-shirts. But now I love to use a sewing ruler. It's just a whole lot easier. So you want a ruler of some sort. And last but not least, you want some parchment paper, copy paper, butcher paper. So whatever you can get your hands on, you can use these parchment paper sheets. I like to purchase these on Amazon. They're made for baking. They're individual sheets, so they're ready to go. But if you're using what you have at home, you may have some of the parchment paper on the roll from your baking section, and that's going to be just the exact same. It's just not in the sheets. So you can use that as well, or even just a simple piece of copy paper to protect your material and your t-shirt from your iron. Now that we've went over the supplies, I actually wanted to show you the design that we're using today. Well, this is the design that I'm using today. So not only teaching you guys how to make your very own t-shirt, I'm going to show you guys something I don't show you very often, the back of the t-shirt as well as that pocket area. So we're going to go over both of those today with this design. Love this one because it includes both of these here, and it's perfect for mental health awareness, which I think should definitely be all year long. I highly encourage you guys to make this project, whether you're going to make it for yourself and wear it, so that way if somebody's walking past you in the store or maybe jogging past you in the park, they're going to read this and they're going to know that they're going to be okay. Or maybe you're going to make it for somebody that you know that personally needs it. So I really love this one. I had to include it. So this is what we're going to make today. So let's go ahead and download it and get ready to take it over to Cricut Design Space. Now that we're over here in Cricut Design Space, let's upload our design. So we're going to come over here to upload. We're going to go to upload an image, and then we're simply going to go to browse. We're gonna find our folder, double click, and then we're going to bring in these. So we're gonna bring them in one at a time. So I'm gonna start with stay, and we're going to click on open. And then we're simply just gonna go ahead and choose complex, continue. And then everything looks good. We're gonna go ahead and hit apply and continue. You could go ahead and rename this. I'm gonna take off that number 2 and then simply choose the cut image here. And then we're gonna click on upload. Now we're gonna go ahead and bring in that second one. We're gonna repeat the same process. All right, so now that we have both of those uploaded, we're simply gonna go ahead and select both of them so we can bring them on the canvas at the same time. You can see that we have definitely selected them because you can see them both down here, and you can also see that they have a green outline around the box. Now we're just gonna go ahead and hit add to canvas. Right away, both of these are selected. They came in quite large. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep them both selected, and I'm gonna bring them down to around 10 inches wide, just so I can start to work with these because they were so big that I couldn't see everything on my canvas. So right away, I know that I'm not gonna want it bigger than 10 inches. So that just kind of gets me started there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and separate these guys right here. So now let's go ahead and figure out how big do we want both of these designs to be. Let's start out with our pocket, which we're gonna get in the placement a little bit later, but let's go ahead and figure out about how big we want it to be. So what you can do is go on your t-shirt here, come over to that pocket area and start to kind of measure there and say, you know, is 4 inches, is that big enough? I kind of like how I have my swoops. And so it's either, I'm thinking either 3.5 to 4 inches. Whenever it comes to the pocket area, I don't like to go no bigger than 4 inches. I feel like 4 inches is even really pushing it. Another thing that you can definitely do is measure off your own t-shirt. So where I have my t-shirt hanging, I could go ahead and come here and say, if I have that design right here, 4 inches, I think that's gonna be okay. Once again, I think 4 inches is pushing it. Definitely would not want it bigger than that. So that looks good to me. So let's go ahead and put in 4 inches wide and see what that gives us with the height. So we're gonna come up here to our width and we're simply gonna type in 4, enter, and that is gonna give us 2.7 high. So what we're gonna do is same thing, go on the t-shirt here, and it's gonna give us about 2.7 there. I think that's gonna be perfect. Once again, go on your own t-shirt and look at that and visually say, does that look good? I think that is perfect. So there is the size for our front pocket. All right, so now that we are on the back of the t-shirt, let's go ahead and figure out about how big we want it to be here. So let's start with our width and then we'll go from there. So on the width here, I definitely think I want to go around 10 inches. So let's go ahead and see how, because this is a square pretty much, right? So for this right here, if we select it, and let's say we do, which it is already 10 inches wide, I forgot we already did that. It's going to give us 8.74 high. So let's go ahead and check that there. And let's see. Perfect. Okay, I'm happy with that. I think that's gonna look absolutely perfect on the back of this t-shirt. So now that we have sized out both the back of the t-shirt and the front of the t-shirt, we are completely ready to go. Now for me today, since I'm using a darker gray here, I'm using white HTV because I really love the way that it pops off of darker garments. You could definitely use a lighter pink, light blues. There's so many different colors that you could definitely do, but for me, I think white is just perfect for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Another one that would be really cool is a reflective HTV. I really wish I would have had it at the studio because that would have been really cool. It's like this gray reflective, so if you're out at night too, it's gonna reflect off that. I really think that would have been cool too. But we're gonna simply go with white today and everything is ready to go. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and click on Make It. We're gonna choose on the mat and confirm. As you can see, we have two separate mats here. So if you guys were using Cricut Smart Materials, you guys would actually choose without the mat, and you guys would actually be able to cut both of those at the same time, as well as if you were using something like a 12 by 24 mat along with that 12 by 24 material. When it comes to using HTV, also known as iron-on, we have to remember to mirror. So you definitely want to mirror. So you're simply gonna turn that on right here, and you're gonna notice that it flips around. So we're gonna do the same thing to this one right here. Now what I want to do is figure out how much material I need to cut. So for this one, I need to cut it 9.5 by 10.5. And for this one here, we're going to cut it 3.5 by 5. So let's go ahead and do that now. To trim these down, what I recommend is a paper trimmer. You definitely don't have to use the Cricut brand. That's just the one that I have. And I'm going to use that to trim it down because it's going to keep everything nice and straight. It's just so much easier to work with, but you could definitely just simply use a pair of scissors. When it comes to trimming it down, always start with that lower number first so you don't waste material. So we're going to start with the 3.5. So we're going to get it at that 3.5 mark. We're going to trim, and then we're going to get it at the 5-inch and trim. And there you go. It's perfect. It's straight, and you have this piece of material that is left over and ready to go for another project, and it's not wonky from a pair of scissors. For the next one, I'm going to start out with that 9.5, just like that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just leave that 12 inches. I can trim this piece off here in a little bit. Today I'm using my green mat. When it comes to HTV, I recommend using the blue or the green mat. HTV needs to be applied with the glossy side down on the mat, so your mat side should be facing up. So this is your adhesive, and this is your carrier sheet. Now, sometimes it doesn't always work that way. When it comes to puff HTV, which pops up like popcorn, it's actually the opposite. So make sure if you're using a special kind of HTV to pay attention to which side is correct. All right, so I'm just simply gonna go ahead and line this up from side to side. If it's crooked, I'll peel it back up and start again. So we're ready to go. We've got this one on, so now let's go ahead and choose our materials. So we're gonna come down here, we're gonna hit continue. At this point, you wanna make sure that your machine is on so it can actually locate your machine. So if it's spinning and spinning and it can't find your machine, make sure this guy's turned on. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and choose everyday iron on. So this is a perfect setting for basic HTV across the board. No matter what brand you're using, it's usually going to work. So I'm using the Siser Easy Weed, like I said, and it works perfectly with everyday iron on. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our mat, and you're just simply gonna load it under those white feet, hit the arrow button as it's flashing. It's gonna load it in for us, make sure that we have the correct mat, and once we get that flashing, we're gonna hit go. All right, so we're gonna hit that go button, and the Cricut's gonna cut it out for us. All right, so we are done cutting. So we're gonna go ahead and unload this. And the way that I like to take it off the mat is flip over my mat. And we're gonna peel it. This is a brand new green mat, so it's a little bit more sticky. And we are simply gonna go ahead and peel it off of the mat. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna repeat the process of loading this one in. And then we're gonna go ahead and choose that same everyday iron on. Now I forgot to choose this setting right here. So if you guys are using the same setting and you have multiple mats, all you simply have to do is click this right here where it says remember material settings, and it won't ask you that every single time. We're ready to load our next one. So we're just gonna get it under here and go. So as soon as that goes through, we hit go. This is gonna cut out so fast. This one's pretty quick. This one was a little bit more time consuming because this is a distressed design. So it has those little rough edges and all of the things. So it takes a little bit longer to cut out. Now, if you are using Cricut Smart Materials, it actually cuts 2 times faster. So we're gonna hit that go, let that cut out. And in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and weed this guy out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start to weed everything out. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start to weed this out from start to finish. Now, if you guys are noticing, like this is a easy weed, but it is a little bit of a colder day. So if you notice that you're struggling a little bit more when it comes to weeding your materials, all you simply have to do is take your surface that you're going to be applying your heat on, which I'm using a towel today. You could definitely take this, take your iron, heat it up for a few seconds, and then you're going to place this with the shiny side down here, and that's gonna warm up, and then you can keep on weeding and it'll actually go a whole lot faster. Now, speaking of heating up some things, we need to go ahead and heat up our home iron. What I like to do is do this because it really doesn't take very long. You want to do this when you start to cut out and weed out. So I really should have started this as it was cutting, but even weeding, honestly, and getting prepped up, finishing everything up, it's gonna be good to go. So what you wanna do is go ahead, like mine is off. There's a few things that you wanna do with your home iron to get it ready. Number one, make sure that your tank is completely empty. So you know where you fill that with water so that way you can add steam? You wanna make sure that guy is completely empty. So you wanna go ahead and take this over to the sink and and pour that out. Get out any sort of remaining steam by using that steam button. The next thing is, if you have a home iron like mine where it has these little feet, so mine is touch. So when I put my hand underneath the handle here, it's really fun, really cool. It actually will activate these feet and it stands up like this. So most home irons, so you may have been panicking this whole time, watching the video thinking, oh my gosh, she has that face down on the table. Mine actually has feet that picks itself up. You don't want that on when you go to iron because you're gonna accidentally drag those feet across. Ask me how I know, I've done it a million times. So for example, if you have that feature, mine is right here, you're gonna turn that off as well. So now I wanna stand it up in this position because now it's no longer safe to sit on the table because there's no feet holding it up. Because see, there's a foot that comes out here too, and it's real easy to accidentally bump and then you're gonna tear up your material. So turn that feature off. And then what we wanna do is we wanna come over here and we wanna choose the cotton linen settings. And I've just got mine all the way to high. And then next, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off that steam. So make sure any sort of steam option is off. Once again, it's already empty anyways, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just double check and make sure that's completely off. And then I've got it on the cotton setting on high. So now that guy can go ahead and start to heat up while we work on everything else. Now I'm getting down to my pieces on the inside. So I'm just gonna go back with my weeding tool here and go ahead and grab out all of these inside pieces. Now you guys let me know if you're just here for inspiration, you guys are wanting a new fun project, or maybe you guys purchased my bundle and you guys wanted to follow along. Let me know in the comments, or did you guys recently purchase a Cricut? This is gonna be your first HTV project. I would absolutely love to know. I remember when I first got my Cricut and I made my very first iron-on project, it too was with a home iron. So it's a learning curve. You know, when you first start out and you're working with a home iron, it's definitely a learning curve, but I'm gonna teach you guys some tips and tricks today to ensure that your t-shirt is going to last a very long time. I'm gonna take a pair of scissors here and trim off this excess. It's just gonna make it easier to work with this design. Absolutely love it. So we're gonna set this guy out of the way. We're gonna go ahead and unload this one, get it off of the mat and get our mat out of the way. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and weed out this one right here. First things first, we want to prep up our t-shirt. So let's work with the front pocket first. So whenever you fold your towel, you want to fold it to where I'm not going to be ironing on something like this. So you can see that piece is underneath. I've got this nice fold here and it feels super smooth. If something feels bulky or like it's, you know, kind of bunched up underneath, you definitely want to smooth that out. Now I don't need it this high, so if I wanted to, I could actually fold it like this, maybe have some of it kind of holding down so it's not so super high. I'm just gonna fold that. I'm actually gonna fix this. I've got a mess going on my own self. So this is super smooth. So I could actually do that so that way it's not so high. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our t-shirt and we're gonna be doing that pocket. So I'm gonna do this just as if I had a Cricut mat. So now what I want to do is I'm going to lay my t-shirt on here just as I would if I, like I said, had a Cricut mat. Get up there nice and straight. This is perfect. I can still work with my pocket here. If I needed to scoot it over, I can definitely do so. But as you can see, it is so smooth. Didn't have to go out and buy anything extra. I'm using my home towel. So what you want to do first is remove any sort of moisture and smooth it down. Once again, my feet are turned off if you have any. I have it on the cotton setting. It is green. It's ready to go. We have no steam, right? So now what we're gonna do is we're just simply gonna go up here just for a few seconds. It don't take very long. We're just gonna smooth that out and pull out any sort of moisture, just around 5 seconds or so. When it comes to finding your placement for that pocket area, there's a few things you can do. Number one, you can definitely refer back to a t-shirt that you already own. Get out your little measure tool here and definitely just measure where it's at. Some of us have little smiley faces there. We may have our own name there, monogram, something. You can definitely measure your own. Figure out how far it came down and then about how big it is. You can definitely do that, or simply by knowing that you can come down around 4 inches. So from the neckline here, I come down around 4 inches, and then from over here, I come over usually about, I want to say about 2.5 inches or so. And then from there, that's where that placement is going to be. So you want to be careful that you're not too far underneath there. I'm actually going to come back just a little bit. And the way to do that is by really playing around with it. So let's fold it in half just as we normally would. We're going to get a crease there, which is going to help us find the center of that design. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and leave my ruler 4 inches down, so I know that part is correct. All right. And then I'm simply going to take my design and then come right over here. So I can look at this and I'm thinking, okay, that's perfectly 4 inches down. And I'm thinking somewhere right about in there. So one of the things that you can do, a lot of us do, is you accidentally go too far over this way and you end up underneath your arm. Okay, so that's one thing to pay attention to. You want to be over usually around 2 inches or so from there. So you're just kind of coming in here. And as you could possibly see, I've even came up. I'm probably around 3 inches down just because the majority of this is kind of down a little bit. That top of that S is up. So pay attention to your design too. If you have a little swoop, you don't want to start from that swoop. You want to come down to where the design really is, and that's kind of where you want to go. So I'm thinking something about like that. I can eyeball this and look at it. You can also pick it back up, hold it in place, and look at that and say, hey, does it look good? I honestly think that placement is pretty great. So now I'm going to carefully lay this guy back down and we're going to get ready to press it. Next, I've got a stopwatch ready to go on my phone, so I'm going to hit go. I've got it set for 30 seconds. So when it comes to using your home iron, just as if you were using your Cricut Easy Press, you want around 30 seconds. So we're going to take our parchment. I am going to cover this. I know that I have this that we usually don't have to worry about. Well, when you use a home iron, it is best to protect that surface. We're applying heat to our t-shirt for 30 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and cover this guy up, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit start on here. We're going to get our iron up here and we're just going to go ahead and press it. So you want some nice firm pressure, but to avoid those pressing marks from the iron, because you can end up with an iron mark, keep it constant motion. Just as if you were to have a Cricut mini press, you could definitely use that as well, but you would want to keep constant motion. And the reason why is it keeps you from leaving marks. So that's a little tip as well. So just constantly keeping it moving for 30 seconds. And don't forget that pressure. The pressure is very important, so I'm giving it some pressure and just constantly keeping it moving. All right, 3, 2, 1. I accidentally put 30 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this guy up and I'm gonna turn this guy off. So make sure you guys use the seconds and not the minutes. If you do, just pay attention until it's down the 30 seconds and you're gonna be good to go. All right, we're gonna get this guy out of our way. Since I'm using a home iron, I'm gonna let it cool down just a little bit. This is actually a hot peel, so you can actually peel this warm or hot, but I'm gonna let it cool for just a second and then I'm gonna peel it. If you notice that you go to peel this up and it's coming up with you, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need more heat. It just simply means that you just need to let it cool a little bit more. But this guy is good to go. Now, one thing that you want to do when it comes to using your home iron, just as you would if you were using a Cricut Easy Press, is we want to flip it over and press again for 15 seconds. Now, remember when we go to working with this side, we're going to have the same thing. So here in a minute, I'm fixing to already apply a heat to the back, so I'm not concerned about it. But when it does come to that one, I will come back and apply heat on this side. So I'm not concerned for this one because we're fixing to apply heat again. So what I'm going to do is you can see it's perfectly good here. Now, something that I want to ensure to you guys to lock it in for a long time, because with that carrier sheet, you do have a little bit of plastic barrier. If you really want to push it into the garment, you can put your parchment paper back on after you pull that off, and then go ahead and just go on here for another second or so, just like that. And that will really help kind of push it down into the fabric. Now let's get ready to press the other side. So as you guys can see, I think that's absolutely perfect. I love it. It is so simple and really, really cute. Sometimes just the smallest designs are amazing. Now we are ready to work on the back side of the t-shirt. So you're gonna get it up here nice and straight, nice and smooth. So we know the center of our t-shirt is where that neck tag is. If you need to hold that guy out, you can, but usually you can kind of visualize the middle of the neck. So you wanna come down around 4 inches or so when it comes to the back of your t-shirt. Once again, if you have a t-shirt with a back design, measure that down. If that's a placement that you like, measure that down and figure out about where that is, and then you'll kind of have a number or place to start from. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you visually. So we're gonna put that down again in the middle, and then here's that 4-inch mark. And then we are gonna go ahead and take our design. So here's our back design. We're gonna fold it in half, get that crease mark. I can come right on top of my ruler here, get that nice and centered, get that out of the way. And then there we have it. Absolutely perfect. So when it comes to your back design, you don't want to be too low, but you do come down a little bit more than what you would in the front. So what you can do is same thing. Pick it up, look at it, double check, make sure it is nice and centered on the t-shirt, make sure it looks like it's down far enough. I'm gonna look at that. I think it looks honestly really great. I'm gonna hold it up in front of me so I can visually look at it. Almost feel like it's crooked just a little bit. So I'm actually going to fix that. Just like so. All right, so I'm happy with that. I have visually looked at it. It looks great. We're gonna do the exact same thing. We wanna make sure we cover it with parchment paper, and then we're gonna press this entire thing for 30 seconds. This time I have my 30 seconds and I've got my parchment paper, so we're gonna get that down, make sure that stays awake. And as soon as I get the iron down this time, I'm gonna go ahead and hit start. So we wanna go ahead and make sure we're going all the way across. Now don't be afraid to do maybe 40 seconds just because we have to go all over this guy. Now you're gonna notice that my butcher paper, parchment paper, if you will, is gonna be moving around just a little bit. I'm giving pressure, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and go for another around 10 seconds. So I've got 6 seconds left, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it another 10 seconds. So as soon as that's done, we're gonna hit repeat. Okay, there we go. And like I said, I'm just going for about another 10 to 15 seconds because it's a big design. If the entire iron, like it did before, covered it, I wouldn't have to worry about it because the heat is on it at all times. But because it's not, I need to give it a few more seconds. All right, so there is 15 seconds. Let's stop and see if that was enough. So we're going to take that up. I wanted to lay it flat down. We're gonna go ahead and stop this guy, get it out of our way. Now we're gonna go ahead and double check and see if this guy is ready to go. Don't forget, we're gonna flip it over and we're still gonna press for 15 seconds. But if we need more time, we can definitely add more time. And also remember, while we were adding this heat, we were heating up the 15 seconds for that design on the front. So let's go ahead and peel. And it looks amazing. So giving it that extra 15 seconds was perfect. So as you guys can see, it came out absolutely perfect. Here is the front and then there is the back. So we are going to flip this guy over, bringing back the front here. And then we're gonna take our parchment paper again, and then we're gonna press. I don't need my timer. I pretty much can visually think about 15 seconds. So if you can do that, which will come with time, you can definitely just go over this. It's just like a baker, you know, with their dash of salt. So you're just gonna basically go over everything, giving some pressure, and you're heating your HTV from this side now, which is really pushing it into the garment. We're gonna go ahead and go for around 15 seconds. I think that's good to go. And then once again, if you really wanna lock that in to the t-shirt, you could flip it back this way, and then you can place that parchment paper and then just press it without that carrier sheet for just a couple seconds. And so when I say a couple seconds, it's around 5 seconds, so not any longer than that. We're gonna peel it, and this shirt is going to last wash after wash after wash, and this stuff is not gonna go anywhere. And just like that, it is that easy to make your very own t-shirts using your home iron. So you guys do not have to go out there and buy the Cricut Easy Presses. You don't have to go buy a big heat press. Those are things if you want an upgrade later on, if you feel it is necessary. But you can definitely accomplish these things with your home iron. And once again, get the cheapest home iron you can. If you want to use the little mini Easy Press, you can do that as well. They make them in the sewing section. There's cheaper versions on Amazon, you name it. There's so many different ways to accomplish this. But you guys can make your very own t-shirts. These are going to last wash after wash after wash. A Cricut Easy Press is just going to give you that one press without having to move it. Same thing with your heat press. It's going to just give that perfect pressure every time. You're going to have less time and temp on that as well, but you don't need it. You could definitely do it with a home iron. Now you guys let me know in the comments below if you guys got inspiration today, whether it is making your very own t-shirt, even if you have a Cricut Easy Press, or if you guys got inspired to go out there and make your own t-shirt using your home iron. And like I said, let me know if you guys just recently purchased a Cricut and you're just getting started. I would love for you to come hang with me and follow along with our crafting tutorials. So if you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell down below so you don't miss any of our crafting tutorials. Bye for now.